Imagine walking into a room full of strangers and being the first one to raise a question, to initiate a conversation with someone. The thought might sound dreadful, perhaps to most of us. But what if I tell you that this very room filled of strangers can be the launch pad of your dreams? Every conversation that you take can transform your life. Every conversation that you take can change your life in so many ways that you would not have even imagined. Today, I'm going to talk about what my experiences tell me and what I call the power of people. This takes me back to a moment in my own life. So I was in school, and our school was invited to participate in a conference in the local university. The university in question was IIT BHU. The room was full of university-going students. And I was the first one to raise a question in that auditorium, similar to much like this hall. Being the first one, and also perhaps the youngest, because most of these were university students, I got the opportunity to connect with the speaker. It left an impression upon him. Little did I know that I would continue to meet this person when I joined college in New Delhi, and that he would mentor me in so many ways and change the course of my life that I would not have imagined. This simple act of asking a question was rather spontaneous, was rather unexpected, but it left an impression, but it had an impact on my life. Similarly, we often tend to misunderstand networking. This very idea that I call the power of people it could be put in other words, the transformative power of networking, meeting, and connecting with people. Another instance that I would would rather talk about is also from my school, wherein in one of these regular morning assemblies, our director came for a session. She mentioned of a certain opportunity that I had no clue of. She had came across that opportunity in the newspaper, and this was something that I could not have been aware of otherwise. I went back home, I applied to that opportunity with full confidence that there is no way that I'm going to clear even the first stage of the three of this rather competitive scholarship. Much to my surprise, I became not only the only person in my state, I come from Varanasi, Uttar Pradesh, to have cleared that scholarship and also winning my first laptop. Let me ask a question from all of you. How many of you know about the Rhodes Scholarship? Can I have a raise of hand? I hardly see a dozen of hands. Maybe that's a start. When you go back, check that out. So how do we do this? How do we network efficiently? This particular instance, we got to know that how, networking, being at the right place at the right time can give you access to critical information, can change and therefore change the, path that your life would have not taken otherwise. Another thing, that when we think of networking, is that we think of it as a mere exchange of business cards, right? As piling of people, right? There are over 5.5 billion people on the internet right now. How many of us are on the internet? I assume most of us are on the internet. So that opens an avenue for you to network with such a large number of people. Why is it so important actually? Number one, you get access to opportunities that you would not have gotten access to otherwise. a simple referral or a recommendation or a simple piece of advice from someone could turn out to be very extremely useful for you. Second, lessons. We get to learn from the mistakes of people. We get to avoid the mistakes that others committed from their learnings by simply engaging in a simple conversation with them. Number three, you get inspired. We often create, artificial barriers for ourselves. We often limit ourselves. But when we meet new people, when we see their stories, when we resonate with them, we also think that this is something that we can do ourselves. This is something that we could have done and probably achieved. This is essentially why networking is so important. Meeting people is so important. Having conversations, engaging with people is extremely important. But how do we do this? How do we go about this? There are a lot of ways as to how we can go about this. One of the ways is attend events, much like this one. You took an effort to attend this event, to be present here. You took an effort to listen to the people who were speaking here. There are also times when you can't attend an event. And that's where the role of social media comes in. A lot of us prefer to kind of, scroll through Instagram and other social media platforms. And if there is an event that you, for some reason, are not able to attend physically, look at the people who are engaging. Look at the people who are tagged. Look at the people who are commenting. Now this might sound trivial. This might sound unnecessary. But after a certain point of time, you will realize that there is a pattern. You will recognize that some of the people who are engaging are relevant for you. Some of the people that you find online through this way are relevant for you and can provide helpful information for you. Now plan ahead. Let's say you are traveling to a different city. You can, for an event or for, let's say, traveling, simply for traveling. Then you can plan to who are the potential attendees in that particular event. You can plan who you can meet in advance. I'm not encouraging you to use Bumble Travel or Tinder Passport. But I'm telling you to look at the events, where people of relevance you can find, and you can plan in advance that you want to meet these people while you're still in that city. Further, some of the ways that you can also expand your networking is through communities. You can join communities, both offline and online. For example, your college might have an alumni network. So it could be a start. Reach out to that one person who can help you, who can potentially give you an advice that might help you in so many ways that you would not have expected. Communities could also be present in different forms. It could be a LinkedIn group that you have been part of for so long. It could be a group that you hardly message or hardly engage with. Last summer, when I received an invitation from UNESCO, and I was told that I'll have to travel to Tashkent and Samarkand in Uzbekistan, the first thing that I did was look at all the groups or all the communities that I was a part of, and whether I could get access to people who are potentially attending that event, or are Uzbeki nationals that I can find in Uzbekistan itself. That simple act of messaging to a dozen of people, of course, all the messages, all the people that you message to, all the people that you reach out to, you might not get a very good response. But it is important that you do. I did this a very simple act. And this led me to meet one of the youngest politicians in Uzbekistan who led what we in India call MSMEs, micro, small, medium enterprises. He was the youngest chairman who led that committee on behalf of the president of Uzbekistan. Not only that, with this simple act of messaging people, I could befriend a journalist who eventually invited me on the Uzbekistan's national news agency. This is what I call the ripple effect. One opportunity leads to another opportunity creates and opens avenues for interacting with more people. And this goes on and goes on and goes on. This is extremely important. Some of the other ways that you can kind of, use to kind of, start networking, or what I call the basics of networking, is be present in a conversation. When you are engaging with someone, be present. Listen to what their interests are. Of course, you have to keep your own interests in mind, but also keep in mind what could be the potential interests of others. When you are attending an event, when you are planning to meet someone, research about them in advance. What are their interests? What could be some of the mutual interests where your interests can align with them? This is extremely important. And that's what I call the pre-planning. Second is that when you are networking, keep in mind that you also share your interests, your views, and it's fine at times to be vulnerable. It's fine at times to share about your weaknesses, share about your vulnerabilities. That helps you resonate with the other person, and they could be the one who might just help you out. These are some of the ways that we can reach out. It could be joining a local community. It could be being part of a LinkedIn group. It could be part of that WhatsApp group that we don't engage with much, which can help us, change ourselves in so many different ways that we would not have imagined. So I challenge you today. When you walk out of this hall, think of that one person that you can reach out to, who can potentially help you with that simple piece of advice, simple piece of critical information that you would not have had access to otherwise. And when you walk out of this hall, reach out to that one person. You never know, that one person could be the one who changes your life. Thank you so much.